Unidentified vessel located. Classification unknown flashed across the primary display of the Skiteri patrol cruiser. Commander Veloth's secondary eyelids flickered with interest as the sensor data streamed in. The object ahead matched no known configuration in their extensive database, yet its deliberate course suggested artificial origin. Analysis, Sub-Commander. Veloth's crystalline voice echoed through the command chamber. Primitive construction, Commander. Hull composed of metallic alloys. No energy shield detection. Thermal signatures minimal. The sub-commander's tendrils waved in dismissal. Likely a derelict from an undocumented species. But something about the vessel's position nagged at Veloth's instincts. They had encountered derelicts before. They didn't usually park themselves along major trade routes. Launch probe drones. Standard quarantine protocol. The sleek, silver shapes of the drones streaked toward the unknown ship. On the primary display, the vessel finally became visible. A dark, angular form against the star field. Its surface was scarred and weathered, bearing the marks of multiple impacts. Near what appeared to be the command section, Veloth could make out strange geometric symbols. US Phantom. Aboard the Phantom, Captain Amanda Hayes watched the alien drones approach through dead screens. Her ship's systems were running silent, power signatures masked by the revolutionary quantum dampeners. To the outside world, the Phantom appeared to be nothing more than a drifting hulk. Status report, she whispered into her comlink. Engineering reports ready, Captain. Lieutenant Marcus Chen's voice was barely audible. Reactor spun up, just waiting for your mark. Weapons. Hot but silent, Mom. That was Sarah Rodriguez, her tactical officer. Rail batteries primed. Point defense grid online, but dormant. Hayes allowed herself a small smile. The Phantom had been purpose-built for this mission. First contact on human terms. After the disaster at Proxima, where an Earth colony fleet had been nearly wiped out by trigger-happy aliens, the United Earth Defense Force had developed new protocols. Now they would let the galaxy come to them. The alien drones were nearly alongside now. Hayes could see them through the bridge viewports, their smooth surfaces reflecting starlight. They were beautiful in an alien way, and far more advanced than anything humanity had built. But that was the point. Sometimes the old ways worked best. All hands, stand by. Hayes settled into her command chair. Remember, we're not here to start a war, but we're sure as hell going to finish one if they push. The first drone extended a scanning beam. Hayes watched it play across the Phantom's hull, knowing exactly what the aliens would see, and more importantly, what they wouldn't. On the Skiteri cruiser, Veloth studied the scan results with growing confusion. This cannot be correct. The hull is made of processed iron and carbon. The propulsion system uses chemical reactions. These beings are barely past planetary travel. Commander. The sensor officer's voice carried an unfamiliar note. Alarm. I'm detecting multiple small objects separating from the vessel's hull. Hayes's voice cut through the Phantom's command circuit. Chaff launch. Execute. Thousands of tiny metal fragments burst from the Phantom's hull, a cloud of razor-sharp shrapnel that shredded the delicate drones. Before the Skiteri could react, the derelict ship blazed to life. All power to forward systems, Hayes commanded. Show them what a primitive species can do. The Phantom's main batteries opened up, magnetic accelerators hurling depleted uranium shells at a significant fraction of light speed. The Skiteri's energy shields, designed to deflect plasma and laser fire, proved tragically vulnerable to good old-fashioned kinetic impact. Veloth watched in horror as warning indicators flashed across his screens. Evasive action. Sound general quarters. But the human ship moved with impossible speed for its size, its primitive chemical thrusters giving it maneuverability that the Skiteri's more advanced, but less versatile drive systems couldn't match. Signal the fleet. Vloth ordered, "All units, caution, hostile warship identified. Humans are coming." The warning came too late. The last thing Vloth saw was the dark shape of the Phantom, eclipsing the stars as it demonstrated why humanity's outdated technology was still deeply, terrifyingly effective. The Galactic Concordat's emergency council chamber had never been this crowded. Representatives from 17 species huddled around the central holographic display, watching the footage from the scary border incident for the 100th time. "Impossible," muttered High Chancellor Exfon, his crystalline form reflecting the harsh light of the display. No species still using chemical propulsion could achieve this level of combat efficiency. Admiral James Cooper smiled as he watched the alien newsfeed through his quantum receiver. The U.S. Phantom's success had been just the beginning. Now it was time for Phase 2. "Status on the Jupiter Squadron?" he asked, turning to his Strategic Operations Officer. Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Marshall gestured to the tactical display. "All ships in position, sir. The gravitic calculations are complete, though I still think this is slightly insane." Cooper's smile widened. "Slightly insane is humanity's comfort zone, Lieutenant. Signal all ships. Operation Slingshot is go." Across the solar system, 5 human warships began an intricate orbital dance. Using Jupiter's immense gravitational field, complex orbital mechanics, and what the aliens would consider criminally reckless piloting, they started building momentum. In the Concordat chamber, a new alert flashed. Multiple human vessels detected. The sensor officer's voice cracked with strain. They're using a gas giant's gravity well as a weapon." Cooper watched his display as the squadron hit their release point. The complex series of gravity assists had accelerated the ships to speeds that their engines alone could never achieve. They shot out of Jupiter's orbit like steel rain, following trajectories that the Concordat's computers would label as mathematical impossibilities. "First rule of space combat," Cooper murmured. "Your enemy can't hit what they don't believe can exist." Lieutenant Emily Winters led the squadron's first strike. Her ship, the U.S. Harrier, had been retrofitted with next-generation railguns. The weapon systems were so powerful they required special reinforcement just to keep the recoil from tearing the ship apart. "Target lock on Concordat defense platform," her weapons officer reported. "They're still trying to calculate our attack vector." "Of course they are," Winters grinned. "Their targeting systems assume we follow the laws of civilized space combat. Fire when ready." The railguns spoke. At the velocities the squadron had achieved through their gravitational maneuver, the kinetic rounds hit with the force of small nuclear weapons. The Concordat's energy shields, designed to disperse energy weapons, might as well have been tissue paper. In the council chamber, panic spread as reports flooded in. "Defense Platform 7 is gone. Platform 3 reports critical damage. We can't track their movement patterns. They're using gravitational distortion." High Chancellor Exfon raised all 4 arms for silence. "How are they achieving this? Their technology is centuries behind ours." A junior analyst, recently assigned to study human history, spoke up. "Chancellor, I believe that's the problem. We abandoned kinetic weapons because energy weapons were more advanced. But the humans, they never stopped improving their primitive technology. They didn't replace it. They perfected it." Admiral Cooper watched the chaos unfold through his feeds. The Concordat was learning a lesson that humanity had known since its first wars. Technology was only as good as the strategy behind it. "Signal from the Harrier, sir," Marshall reported. "Lieutenant Winters reports all primary targets neutralized. She's requesting permission to demonstrate the Mark 7 penetrators." Cooper considered for a moment. The Mark 7s were brand new, designed specifically to exploit the weaknesses they'd discovered in alien shield technology. Using them now would reveal another of Earth's capabilities, but the strategic value of the demonstration might be worth it. Permission granted. Let's show them why primitive doesn't mean ineffective. As the Harrier's new weapons carved through the Concordat's remaining defenses like paper, the council chamber erupted in fresh panic. The humans weren't just winning. They were rewriting the rules of space combat with technology that should have been obsolete. Gaston stared at the tactical display, watching another defense platform shatter under human weapons fire. "Send word to all Concordat worlds," he ordered. "The humans don't just have ships. They have weapons we never imagined, and they know how to use them." Major Thomas Richardson stood at parade rest in the New Geneva Conference Center, watching the alien diplomatic vessel land through polarized windows. After 2 weeks of careful negotiations, the Concordat had finally agreed to face-to-face talks. As Earth's military liaison, he'd been selected for his diplomatic temperature, a polite way of saying he could smile while delivering bad news. "They're here early," Colonel Patricia Martinez noted, checking her watch, "trying to put us off balance." Richardson shrugged. "Or they don't understand why we'd want to meet at high noon. Not everyone appreciates the symbolism." The Concordat ship was everything humanity's vessels weren't: sleek, crystalline, and seemingly defying physics. Its landing generated no heat or sound, just a slight ripple in the air as anti-gravity fields engage. The diplomatic team that emerged was led by Exizith, the Concordat's most experienced mediator. The alien's translucent form shifted colors as it moved, a display that human xenologists believed indicated emotional states. Right now, it was cycling through shades of deep purple. Diplomatic caution. "Welcome to Earth," Richardson said, executing a precise military bow. "I trust your journey was comfortable." Exith's color shifted to blue-green. "Your concern for our comfort is noted, though unnecessary. We come seeking understanding of your species' aberrant behaviors." Richardson maintained his smile, though his jaw tightened slightly. "Aberrant. I'm not familiar with any behaviors that would warrant such a description." The alien diplomat's assistant stepped forward, manipulating a holographic display. "We have documented multiple instances of concerning activities. Your species deliberately ingests toxic substances for pleasure." "Ah." Richardson nodded. "You mean coffee. Would you like some? We have an excellent break room setup." The alien's colors shifted to alarmed orange. "You would offer us poison as a diplomatic gesture." "Not poison, hospitality. But if coffee's too strong, we could start with tea." The meeting deteriorated from there. When Richardson mentioned his morning workout routine, including boxing practice, Exith's team nearly called for emergency evacuation. "You engage in ritualized combat for recreation." The horror in the translator's voice was evident. "And your military leaders personally participate in such violence." "It's called sports," Richardson explained, trying to bridge the cultural gap. "It helps us stay sharp, builds camaraderie. Look, why don't I show you? We have a training room right here in the building." Against all protocol, and despite their handlers' visible distress, the junior members of the alien delegation agreed. Richardson suspected they were morbidly curious about human barbarism. In the training room, Richardson and his regular sparring partner, Lieutenant Sarah Thompson, demonstrated basic boxing forms. The aliens watched in fascinated horror as the two officers exchanged controlled jabs and hooks. "But you're deliberately striking each other." Exith's color had shifted to a previously unseen shade of pulsing yellow. "And you're both showing teeth." "That's called smiling," Thompson explained between blocks. "It means we're having fun." The translator made a critical error at that moment. The concept of recreational combat, combined with showing teeth in pleasure, was so alien that its language matrix short-circuited. It interpreted the human expressions and laughter as aggressive display of dominance and war cry. Panic erupted. The alien delegation retreated to their ship, broadcasting emergency signals. Richardson, still in boxing gloves, watched in bewilderment as their vehicle shot into the sky. "Was it something I said?" he asked Martinez, taking a sip of his post-workout coffee. "No," she replied, reading the incoming emergency broadcasts. "Apparently it was something you smiled. They're reporting that Earth's military command engages in recreational pain rituals and responds to violence with pleasure displays. Also, they're claiming we tried to assassinate them with toxic chemicals." Richardson sighed, looking at his coffee cup. "Well, that could have gone better. Think they'd be more or less upset if they knew about ice hockey." "Let's not find out," Martine suggested. "Though I have to wonder, if they're this scared of boxing, how are they going to handle learning about mixed martial arts?" The answer came 3 hours later, when the Concordat formally declared Earth a Class X death world and recommended immediate quarantine measures. Apparently, the concept of Ultimate Fighting Championship had made it into their cultural analysis report. Colonel Michael Drake watched the shimmering purple barrier through the bridge viewport of the U.S. Lockpick. The Concordat's void shield was beautiful, in a way, like an aurora that encased the entire solar system. "Final systems check," he called out. "How's our baby looking?" Lieutenant Emma Powell, his chief engineer, glanced up from her console. "Quantum tunneling drive is at 98% efficiency. Better than the simulations, actually. Those modifications to the Heisenberg compensators really paid off." Drake nodded, trying to hide his nervousness. The Lockpick was humanity's latest achievement, a ship designed to go through things rather than around them. The theory had been simple. If quantum particles could tunnel through barriers, why not scale it up? "Command Actual is on the line," Communications Officer James Chen reported. "They're ready for our attempt." "Put them through." Drake straightened in his chair as Admiral Cooper's face appeared on the main screen. "Colonel," Cooper's expression was grave, "you understand what's at stake here. The Concordat's quarantine has cut off 3 colony ships and our Mars base. We need that shield down." "Yes, sir. Though I still think broadcasting our success might be a bit provocative." Cooper's smile was sharp. "That's the point. Colonel, show them why caging humans is a bad idea." Cooper out. Drake turned to his crew. "Well, you heard the man. Powell, start the drive sequence. Chen, make sure every sensor in our array is recording. Johnston, plot us a course straight through their pretty purple wall." The Lockpick's experimental drive began to hum. It wasn't like the standard engine noise. This was more like the sound of reality clearing its throat. "Tunneling field stable," Powell reported. "Quantum state is holding. We're ready." Drake took a deep breath. "Take us in. Nice and easy." The Lockpick moved forward, its specialized field extending around the hull. As they approached the barrier, sensors throughout the ship began to scream warnings. "Energy readings are off the scale," Chen called out. "The shield's trying to. I'm not sure what it's trying to do, actually. It's like it can't decide if we're there or not." "That's the point," Powell said with professional pride. "We're exploiting quantum uncertainty on a macro scale. The shield can't stop us because it can't pin down where we are." The moment of contact arrived. Through the viewport, Drake watched as the purple barrier seemed to flow around their ship like water. There was a sensation like the entire universe taking a step to the left. And then, "We're through." Johnston's voice was triumphant. "Clean transit, no damage. Sir, we just walked through the most advanced barrier in known space, like it wasn't even there." Drake allowed himself a small fist pump. "Powell, start the data broadcast. Let's show the galaxy how primitive humans deal with being caged." On the Concordat command station, alarms were blaring. Supreme Commander Elax stared at the readings in disbelief. "Impossible," the alien leader chittered. "They're not just breaking through. They're analyzing the shield structure. The human vessel is broadcasting technical specifications." "Sir," a junior officer called out, "we're detecting multiple ships approaching the barrier at different points." They're all broadcasting the same signal. The humans are teaching others how to break our containment. Drake watched through the lockpick's rear cameras as ships from half a dozen species approached the barrier, each one using the data his ship had broadcast to generate their own tunneling fields. "Sir," Chen's voice was amused, "we're getting thank you messages. Apparently several trade federations have been looking for a way around Concordat travel restrictions for years. Respond with 'You're welcome' and add a smiley face." Drake ordered, "And get me command. They should know that not only did we break their cage, we just showed everyone else how to do it too." In the following hours, the Concordat's prized void shield became more of a suggestion than a barrier. Ships of all sizes began popping through, their crews celebrating their newfound freedom of movement. Admiral Cooper's message to the Concordat was brief. "Next time, try asking nicely. P.S. We've identified 14 more structural weaknesses in your shield design. Would you like the list? We're happy to share." Commander Jessica Martinez sat in her office at the Earth Defense Force Technology Division, watching her latest digital warfare campaign unfold across multiple holographic displays. It wasn't like any cyber attack in history. She was attacking with knowledge itself. "Dr. Anderson," she called out to her chief research engineer, "how's the upload progress?" Dr. William Anderson looked up from his station, his eyes bright with excitement. "The comprehensive guide to improving Concordat shield technology just hit the Galactic net. We're already seeing thousands of downloads from lower-tier worlds." Martinez nodded, taking a sip from her coffee. "And the reactor efficiency protocols? Better than expected. The Raxan engineers who tested our modifications reported a 327% increase in power output. They're actually demanding to know why we're giving this away for free." "Did you tell them?" Anderson grinned. "That knowledge wants to be free." "Yeah, but I don't think they understood. The concept of open-source technology is completely alien to them." On her main screen, Martinez watched as another surge of data requests came in. The latest package included human insights into gravitational field manipulation, energy conservation, and, perhaps most revolutionary, basic engineering safety protocols. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Sarah Foster called from the communication station, "we're getting a priority message from the Concordat. They're threatening to sue us for patent infringement." Martinez actually laughed out loud. "Send them our standard response. All technical information released by the Earth Defense Force is provided under the Galactic Open Knowledge License, version 1.0. Then send them a copy of the license. The one that's 40 pages of legal text explaining why knowledge sharing is a fundamental right. That's the one. And add a note. We're happy to explain any terms they don't understand." The Concordat's response came within hours, but not in the form they expected. A massive fleet of warships dropped out of FTL near Jupiter. "They're broadcasting a message," Foster reported. "The Supreme Commander says we're disrupting the natural order of technological progress." Martinez stood up, walking to the window that overlooked the Rocky Mountains. "Natural order. Anderson, how many safety violations did we find in their standard chip designs?" "Hundreds," Anderson replied, pulling up a report. "Their reactor shielding alone was a disaster waiting to happen. We probably saved thousands of lives by publishing those safety upgrades." "Send that data to the fleet," Martinez ordered, "along with our analysis of their current formation. Make sure to highlight how their advanced targeting systems have 3 major blind spots." The effect was immediate. The Concordat fleet's neat formation dissolved into chaos as ship captains received detailed breakdowns of their vessel's vulnerabilities. "They're retreating," Foster announced, unable to keep the amusement from her voice. "And we're getting new data requests. Looks like some of their ships decided our safety protocols were more important than orders. Martines returned to her desk, opening a new project file. Time for Phase 2. Let's show them what happens when you actually share medical technology instead of hoarding it. The genetic enhancement protocols, Anderson asked, raising an eyebrow. That's going to cause an uproar. Exactly. The Concordat's been keeping their client races dependent by controlling access to medical technology. Let's see how they handle everyone having access to basic gene therapy. The next wave of information hit the galactic net like a tsunami. Detailed instructions for medical equipment maintenance, genetic modification safety guidelines, and most devastating of all, a complete database of known xenobiological pathogens and their treatments. Message from Admiral Cooper, Foster said. He says the Concordat Council is in emergency session. Apparently 3 of their subject races have already declared independence, citing access to independent medical care as their primary justification. Martinez smiled, opening another file labeled Advanced FTL Theory for Beginners. Send him our status report. And add a note. Phase 3 starts tomorrow. We're going to teach the galaxy how to build their own jump drives. Anderson whistled low. You know, when I joined the Defense Force, I never thought our most powerful weapon would be a publishing program. That's because the Concordat never understood human nature, Martines replied. They think information should be controlled, rationed, used to maintain power. But humans, we share, we build, we improve. And we're about to show the galaxy why that makes us unstoppable. Captain Robert Nash wiped blood from his nose and grinned at his Marines. Well, that's new. Never had my immune system make me sneeze blood before. The squad was holed up in the ruins of an abandoned Concordat research station on Europa, fighting not just the alien task force sent to eliminate them, but the bioweapons they'd been hit with. 3 different strains, by Dr. Emily Parker's count. Sir, Sergeant Michael Wong called out, his voice raspy but strong. Enemy forces are pulling back. Looks like they expected us to be dead by now. Nash checked his helmet display. The biological warning indicators were still flashing red, but his squad's vital signs showed something the aliens clearly hadn't expected. Improvement. Doc, he called over the comm. Give me some good news. Dr. Parker's voice was excited, despite the situation. Captain, this is fascinating. The pathogens they hit us with are incredibly sophisticated, but our bodies are, well, they're treating them like a challenge. Explain it like I'm not a biotech genius, Doc. Our immune systems are evolving in real time. Earth's pathogens are so aggressive that our bodies developed incredibly adaptive defense mechanisms. These alien bioweapons are complex but predictable. Our immune systems are actually getting stronger. On the Concordat command ship, Supreme Medical Officer Tull stared at the sensor readings in horror. Impossible. We hit them with 3 Class X pathogens. They should be experiencing total organ failure. New data coming in. A junior officer reported. The humans. They're moving again. Fighting patterns show no degradation in combat effectiveness. Nash led his squad through the station's lower levels, each Marine moving with practiced precision despite the alien diseases raging through their systems. If anything, they seemed more energized. Contact front. Private Sarah Rodriguez called out, her voice clear despite the blood speckling her visor. Enemy squad, looks like they're in full biocontainment gear. Take them, Nash ordered. Show them what Earth's children can do. The firefight was brief and brutal. The Concordat troops, encumbered by their protection suits, were no match for the enhanced reflexes of the infected humans. Nash's team moved like predators, their bodies burning hot with fever, but their aim steady. Message from command. Wong reported after the dust settled. They're picking up massive enemy fleet movement. The Concordat is pulling back all forces in the system. Dr. Parker's laughter crackled over the comm. Captain, you're not going to believe this. I just finished the latest blood analysis. Our bodies haven't just fought off their bioweapons. We've incorporated parts of them. We're actually stronger now than before the attack. Nash shook his head, amused. So they just gave us an upgrade. That's going to keep their scientists up at night. In the Concordat's Biological Research Center, alarms were blaring. Stahl watched in growing terror as new data poured in. The human immune response, it's like nothing we've ever seen. Their bodies don't just fight infection. They adapt, evolve, grow stronger. And now they're transmitting data about our bioweapons back to their command. The research center's director made a decision. Quarantine the entire facility. If their bodies can turn our weapons against us, we can't risk further exposure. Back on Europa, Nash's team was being extracted. The shuttle pilot almost refused to land when he saw their blood-stained armor. But Dr. Parker's readings showed they were all in perfect health. You know what's really going to scare them? Nash asked his team as they lifted off. When they find out this isn't even our final form. Wait until they see what happens when we start actually trying to improve ourselves. Juan laughed, then coughed up what looked like blue blood. Sir, should we tell them about the kid back home who got stung by every venomous animal in Australia and lived? Let's not give them too many nightmares at once, Sergeant, though I am looking forward to explaining why some of us vacation in Death Valley for fun. The Concordat's official report on the failed bioweapon attack was brief. Human biological resistance exceeds all known parameters. Recommendation: avoid any strategy that relies on overwhelming their physical functions. These creatures don't just survive. They thrive on challenge. General Catherine Sullivan sat in the newly established Earth Embassy on Raxus Prime, sharing what the locals called Sun Tea with a former Concordat security chief. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on her. 2 months ago, the Raxians had been trying to kill them. So let me understand, Chief Kavor said, his scaled features betraying amusement. You want to not only share military technology with us, but also train our forces. Exactly, Sullivan replied, sipping the luminescent beverage. Full technology exchange, joint training programs, combined fleet exercises. We want to be partners, not overlords. The Concordat will not be pleased. The Concordat hasn't been pleased since we showed up, Chief. But look what their displeasure got them. A growing alliance of independent worlds who are tired of being told what they can't do. Commander Rachel Foster, Sullivan's chief of diplomatic operations, entered the room with a data tablet. Ma'am, the Skiteri just responded to our proposal. They're interested. Sullivan's eyebrows rose. The same Skiteri who first called us primitives. Well, that's progress. Kavor's secondary eyes blinked in surprise. You would ally with those who first attacked you. Why not? We're talking to you, aren't we? Sullivan's smile was warm. Humans have a long history of turning former enemies into friends. Sometimes the best alliances come from understanding each other's strengths in combat first. On her tablet, Foster brought up a galaxy map showing the growing network of human alliances. Each green point represented a world that had signed technology exchange treaties with Earth. The network was spreading like a living thing. The Macarians have also reached out, Foster reported. They're particularly interested in our materials science programs. Apparently, our primitive metallurgy has applications their advanced systems never considered. Sullivan nodded. Set up a meeting and send them our research on carbon nanotubes. Let's show them how primitive tech can enhance their crystal matrix computers. Kavor studied the human general with all 4 eyes. You know what the Concordat calls this strategy. They say humans collect friends like others collect territory. They're not wrong, Sullivan chuckled. We've always been good at making friends. It's probably because we spent so much of our history fighting each other. We learned the hard way that having allies is better than having subjects. A priority alert flashed on Foster's tablet. Ma'am, the Concordat just issued a statement. They're declaring any world that signs treaties with Earth to be in economic rebellion. Perfect, Sullivan said, surprising both Cavor and Foster. Now watch what happens when you try to bully independent worlds who've just discovered they have options. The response came faster than even Sullivan had expected. Within hours, 3 more worlds announced technology exchange treaties with Earth. The Concordat's threats had backfired spectacularly. I don't understand, Cavor admitted. How are you doing this? The Concordat held power for millennia through advanced technology and economic control. Sullivan stood, walking to the embassy's window that overlooked the Raxian capital. That's exactly why they're failing now. They built their power on keeping others down. We're building alliances by helping others up. Foster's tablet chimed again. The Skitarii want to fast-track their treaty. They're offering their advanced sensor technology in exchange for our hull metallurgy innovations. Accept, Sullivan said, and send them the preliminary data on our point defense systems as a show of good faith. Let's show them how Earth does business. Cavor's scales shifted color, a sign of decision among his people. General, I believe it's time to discuss that joint fleet exercise you mentioned. My government is interested in learning more about human combat doctrine. Sullivan's smile widened. Commander Foster, add another green light to that map and send word to Earth. Tell them the network effect is accelerating. The Concordat isn't just losing control of their subject worlds. They're losing them to friendship. As night fell on Raxus Prime, Sullivan watched ships from 3 different species dock at the spaceport outside. Each one carried representatives eager to discussion cooperation with Earth. The Concordat had spent millennia building walls between species. Humanity had shown up with a simple message: let's work together. And the galaxy was never going to be the same. Admiral James Cooper stood before the newly formed Galactic Council, an organization that would have been unthinkable just 1 year ago. Beside him stood his former enemy, now friend and ally, Skitarii Commander Ilith. The chamber itself was a testament to change. Representatives from 37 species sat together as equals, not a hierarchy. The transition report, Admiral, the council chairman, a Macarian named Vex9, prompted. The integration of combined fleet operations has exceeded expectations, Cooper reported. The Skitarii advanced sensor arrays paired with human kinetic weapons have created defense systems more effective than anything either species had alone. Elith's crystalline form shifted colors as he added, and the human approach to command structure, what they call mission-type tactics, has revolutionized our military effectiveness. We were so focused on central control that we'd forgotten the value of individual initiative. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez, now Chief of Interspecies Training, brought up a holographic display showing the latest joint exercise results. Ships from a dozen different species moved in perfect coordination, each contributing their unique strengths to the whole. As you can see, she explained, we're not just sharing technology, we're creating entirely new ways of operating. The Raxian energy shields modified with human ablative armor concepts have created defensive systems that neither species could have developed alone. In the observation gallery, former High Chancellor X. Vaughn watched with a mixture of amazement and resignation. The Concordat's rigid power structure had finally collapsed 2 months ago, unable to compete with the new alliance's model of open cooperation. Tell me, Admiral, Extvan called out, how did you know this would work? Our civilization stood for millennia based on control of knowledge and technology. Cooper's response was characteristically human. We didn't know. We just did what comes naturally to us. We made friends, shared what we knew, and tried to learn from everyone we met. Turns out that's a pretty good way to run a galaxy. Commander Lilith activated another display, this one showing educational statistics. The human concept of open-source knowledge has generated more scientific progress in the past year than the previous century under Concordat control. When everyone can contribute, everyone benefits. Dr. Emily Parker, now head of Xenobiology Research, stepped forward. We've seen the same effect in medical science. Combining human adaptive biology research with Macarian cybernetics and Raxian energy medicine has opened up entirely new fields of study. We're not just curing diseases, we're redefining what's possible. The chamber erupted in excited discussion as representatives shared their own success stories. The Skiteri had adapted human agricultural techniques to triple their food production. The Macarians had integrated human neural interface designs to create more intuitive technology. Every species have found something to learn and something to teach. And the military implications? X-Von asked, still struggling to understand this new order. Funny thing about friends, Cooper replied. When you have them, you need fewer weapons. Though I have to admit, our joint training exercises are pretty impressive. Turns out everyone has something to teach about fighting. We just had to learn to listen. Rodriguez brought up a final display. A map of known space showing trade routes, research centers, and cultural exchange programs. This is the real victory, she said, not the technology or the military strength, but this network of cooperation that grows stronger every day. Lilith's color shifted to deep blue, a sign of profound understanding among his people. We called humans primitive when we first met them. We were wrong. They had mastered something we had forgotten, the art of growing together rather than growing apart. Cooper looked out over the chamber, at faces and forms from across the galaxy, all working together. The Concordat called this the third age of space travel. First was the age of discovery, then the age of empire. But this is the age of friendship, and speaking as a human, I think it's going to be our best age yet. Wulon found himself nodding. You know, Admiral, when we first encountered your ships, we broadcast a warning. Caution. Hostile warship identified. Humans are coming. Perhaps we should have added. And they're going to make us all better for it. The chamber filled with the various sounds of multiple species laughing together. A symphony that would have been impossible under the old order. Humanity had come to the stars ready for war, but hoping for friendship. In the end, they had found both. And the galaxy would never be the same.